Hey everybody, just finished another awesome episode of Angles. As always, brought to you by my law firm, Richmond Bona Personal Injury Attorneys. This time I had the pleasure of sitting down with Jim Sandoro, the man behind the Pierce Arrow Museum, but much, much more than that. An incredible life. He talked about growing up as a little boy here in the 40s, how he initially gained his love for cars, for Pierce Arrows, his life traveling the world, restoring cars, acting as an expert witness, building an auction house for cars, and eventually, starting to collect to create what is arguably going to be maybe the biggest car museum or transportation museum in the world. Fascinating guy who you could just talk to for hours and hours and hours. He's a true historian and just a wonderful, wonderful person. So I know you'll enjoy the episode. Again, it's one of those where it's good because I do very little talking. But check it out. And as always, if you like these conversations, please like, subscribe, follow us on social media. You know the drill. Helps us keep guests coming on. Enjoy. And I really appreciate you being here.
You're welcome, John. Yeah.
I know you don't do a lot of these, so I feel honored. And it was funny, we've been meaning to reach out and see if you'd be willing to do this for some time now, but we wanted to first build up the guest list so you could see that we knew what we were doing.
Okay.
But it's a little bit of like an intro for people listening. You and I had the chance to meet. We moved into this building on the corner of Seneca and Michigan, and I quickly realized, this is like, in my opinion, this is Jim Sandoro country over here. And you've been an awesome neighbor. You've helped us out tremendously. There's so much to talk about, whether it's with Pierce Arrow or your history with this neighborhood in Buffalo. So I appreciate you being here. I'm excited to talk to you.
No, I'm enjoying it. So
I got to go back to your life as a little boy here, because I know you're a really proud Buffalonian. And I was hoping you could kind of take us back to when you were a little boy and maybe even talk about what first got you interested in cars to begin with.
Well, as you walk in the museum, people see a picture of a little guy in front of an old sliding wooden door to a garage. And it's a picture of me that my mother took when I was 3.5. And we lived at 225 Lisbon near Bailey. And my dad was a young lawyer, and my grandparents lived... They lived upstairs. We lived downstairs. So I was adventuresome, as most 3.5-year-olds are. And the man next door, they had a granddaughter, and we were the kids who were playing in the neighborhood. But when I'd be in their yard, I'd smell stale gas and mothballs near this garage. And it was a 2-car garage. And the one door is where grandfather would keep his regular car. And then there was a tarp that went between that and the next car, or next space. And so I smelled these mothballs, and I went in and I pulled the tarp back, and right up to my eyes at 3.5, now I'm not that big, was a hubcap, a brass hubcap, said Pierce Arrow Motor Car Company, or Pierce Arrow. What is Pierce Arrow? And then it was a big wheel. It turned out it was a Pierce Arrow car that was up on stands on blocks to keep weight off the wheels. And I could twist it and it'd go around a circle. And I could go on the other side and slide down the fender. I said, wow, this is a great toy for me to call everybody, and let's do the slide. So the grandfather found out we were in there, and I was banned from there forever. But I kept saying, why can't I play on it? What's so important? And he would tell me, well, I was a chauffeur for a wealthy Buffalo family, and it was the greatest car of the 20th century, the official White House car from Taft to Roosevelt, potentates, Emperor of Japan, Hirohito, on and on and on. People around the world had Pierce Arrow cars. And again, I'm prejudiced, but it was the greatest car ever made. And that really intrigued me. Excuse me. And we went to the Henry Ford Museum about a year later. My aunt lived in Detroit. And I saw those cars and motorcycles and trains and everything in this magnificent museum. And it stuck in my head that that's what I wanted to do, was put together a museum. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure my parents wanted me to be a lawyer. And at 18, I graduated from Bennett High School, and I was going to UB at nighttime because I had the business going down here on Myrtle. I had an old building that the owner said, you can pay me off. You can go in there and pay me off as you go along.
Yeah.
It was $5,000 to buy the building.
Wow.
And I got these old guys to show me how to work on old cars only, no modern cars. So that started it. And my mother didn't talk to me for 2 years because I left home. I was the oldest, her firstborn, and she had 6 more. I mean, she had plenty to take care of. But she was, and then she came down one time and says, oh, this is wonderful. And that was it.
That's wild. So, I mean, we're talking, if I take you back to when you were a little boy in your neighbor's garage, forgive me for dating you a little bit, but that's got to be in the 1940s.
Oh, it was the 40s. Yeah, I was born in 44, so it would have been 47, around 47, about 47. And, of course, the war was over then. But, again, the reason the car was there, the owners were told that aluminum body cars should be scrapped to make airplanes for World War II. So Pierce's were aluminum bodies, which were very special.
Wow.
But he wasn't going to do that. He said, "Sure, boss." They took a lot of guys. That's why a lot of Pierce Arrows survived, because a lot of them were in Buffalo. And I actually found the motor vehicle records from 1903, 1909, and 1915. I had a gal type them up. It was 140,000 names. And now I can tell you what address, who had what car, how many horsepower, whether it was a touring car, and whether it was a Pierce or a Ford or a Thomas. And I ran, in 1909, I ran all the Pierces and Thomas Flyers, and it was something like 680 Pierces in the city of Buffalo.
Wow.
And 400 Thomas Flyers. Now remember, these cars cost $8,000 and $10,000. Model T was $400. We were the richest city in the world. I mean, there's documents that tell that we were the richest city for the first, I'd say, from 1890 to 1910 or 20.
The most millionaires, I think, in the country.
Most millionaires per capita.
Yep.
Which made us the richest city when you do that. And they all had fine carriages, bicycles, automobiles.
Yeah. That's amazing. I just think it's wild that you had this idea, a year later after first seeing that car, you're still in the 1940s, like, I'm going to start a museum. And not only did you do that, but what you've already done with Pierce Arrow and what the plans are for it are incredible. Was there any point in time in all these years that you thought it wasn't going to come to fruition?
Well, my friends all thought it wasn't, and my friend Bob Knorr, who you know, and and still is my attorney, kept saying, you keep talking about when are you going to start? And so in '97, he set up the non-for-profit, and that's what started. It'll be 30 years next year.
It's incredible.
It finally put up or shut up. Now, I had already collected, had all the things I needed, had the buildings, everything was there, but my time. And I was traveling a lot. I did until recently. I traveled millions and millions of miles to Europe, Japan, South America, all about automobiles, either as an expert witness, consulting on people's collections, things like that. And I've been all over the world.
Yeah, that's definitely something I want to get in with you, because the expert witness part of your life is very interesting. And I'm going to circle back on that. But if I take you, so you're not a little boy anymore. You're here in Buffalo. You open up your first shop, it sounds like. Mm-hmm. Just talk a little bit about how this got going, and because, you've amassed so much. I think I read someplace that there's over 350,000 pieces.
A million.
Over a million now?
Over a million.
That's unbelievable,
yeah,
right?
We did a somewhat inventory, over a million pieces.
Wow.
And still coming.
So how did this begin? I mean, talk to me about your early years. Was it just you were just putting cars together, fixing cars? What was the first car you bought?
Restoration, Model A Ford. I was dating a girl who lived on Lisbon Avenue by coincidence, down the street from, so this is when I was in my teens. And the girl next door were sitting on the porch one day and said, "Oh, you like old cars? My brother's got a Model A Ford." He's in Germany right now, but he calls me every Sunday night. You want me to see it for sale? So I went over and looked at it, and the fenders were off and whatever, but it was a beautiful Model A coupe. And sure enough, I bought it for $75.
Wow.
And that's really the first car that I had. And that's what I specialized in for a long time, were Model A Fords.
Wow. So you start off with the Fords. How did you start ramping up and collecting all these things? I mean, because this has not happened overnight.
No, it didn't happen overnight. A big thing in my life was my aunt, who was in Detroit, called me in about '63. First of all, I ended up buying a brand new '63 Chevy 409, the car the Beach Boys wrote the song about, She's Real Fine, my 409. And I was into drag racing, along with my antique car restoration. But the modern car, that was the epitome of having a cool car at the time, was that. And there's one in the museum just like it. And my aunt called me and said, I have to have a hysterectomy. I have an employment agency in Detroit. Would you come and oversee it for a month while I'm in the hospital or whatever? She thought I had a good business mind and whatever. And I said, okay, I'll do it. Because I had a lot of friends in the antique cars in Michigan. I used to travel there all the time to go to shows and everything. So I did. I went there. It was the summer of '63, '64, somewhere in there. And her operation didn't turn out well, and she was going to be hospitalized longer and had a problem. And I had run the place. I ended up running for a couple of months before we found that out. And she said, you should really have your own place. Your numbers, you doubled my numbers on placing people in jobs. I said, yeah, I like it, but I've got to go back. And I had another girlfriend in Buffalo, and I was commuting every weekend. I drive Buffalo. I know Route 3 through Canada like the back of my hand. And there was no 401 at the time. And I used to stop. There was a car museum outside of Windsor. I used to stop, see this old guy. He had some cool cars. And so the story gets better that I said, no, but, I think I'll take a ride. And I took a ride up to West 8 Mile. In Detroit, all the streets are mile going out of downtown. Yeah. And 8 Mile was just the beginning, like Kenmore Avenue is to Buffalo. Mm-hmm. And they were just opening the world's first shopping center, Northland Shopping Center. And I saw office for rent sign, Kaufman and Broad, who still owns it. And I went in just for the heck of it, and he said, what do you want to do? I said, I don't know, I might do employment agency. And he said, I got an office right here for you. And I always, later I think of my father, because he told me, if you ever rent anything, always make sure that you have an exclusive on whatever you do. So he showed me this office. It's about double your space right here was the office, but then there was a big storage room. And I'm thinking car parts. I could bring car parts from Buffalo to sell in Michigan or vice versa. So I ended up renting. And one of the gals that came in that I placed was from the Playboy Club in Detroit. Detroit had a big, second only to Chicago, the Playboy Club. And they were very well-educated college gals. And they, as soon as they left, they'd want a good job, and they would pay the whole fee. Playboy Club. I used to split the fee. They'd pay the whole fee. So I got her a job, and she said, the head bunny wants to meet you. Really? What does she want to meet you? Well, she has something she wants to talk to you about. So I had dinner with them, and she gave me the exclusive. She said, every Playboy bunny that comes out, you place them. Well, it went gangbusters. I mean, it was a giant thing. I was placing 10 a month, which is big fees at that time for a relative. And so one day after I was there during the riots. I'll never forget. I was coming back from Buffalo on a Sunday night. I got to the bridge, the Ambassador Bridge, and I had a brand new '65 Chevy wagon. I'll always remember it. And the officer, the customs guy, said, "Hey kid, you better go around. Go to the blue upper bridge. Don't come across here." I said, "Why?" He said, "Look, the city's on fire." Wow. And I looked, and it was burning. But I knew where Grand Avenue was, and I had to get to Redford, which was the suburbs. I said, nah, I can get through, I can get through. Well, I got through, but they threw bricks, and I mean, it was like the riots in Los Angeles. It was just like that.
Wow.
They threw, everybody was, ready to get killed.
Yeah.
And we couldn't move for 3 months. No, 3 weeks. They closed the whole city, the bridge down, everything. The riots were pretty bad in Detroit. And so I always remember that. And guy comes into my office, tells my secretary, I'd like to talk to the owner. And I said, yeah, what can I do for you? He said, we're interested in buying your business. I said, I'm not interested in selling the business. I'm not interested. But he said the magic words, I'm from Snelling and Snelling. Now, I knew Snelling and Snelling was the world's largest employment agency. And so why would you want me? He said, well, you're exclusive, and you have the Playboy, because they had gone after the Playboy account. And I said, no, I'm not interested. So they gave me a number, and I probably had $20,000 invested in office furniture and other stuff. No, not going to work. And a couple weeks later, they came with another number. Nope, that's not going to work. Well, when they got to a really big number, I won't go into it, but it was a really big number. I, of course, said yes. And it was fabulous because it gave me money to put back in the business here.
In Buffalo.
And also to buy some cars at that museum that I went to, I would stop. The guy was retiring, and I bought the yellow car that you saw the other day, a Page Daytona Speedster in red at that sale. But that's how I got to know Bill Harrah from Harrah's Museum. I had met him at Hershey in 1962. Hershey is the mecca of all car people.
Really?
It's 27 miles of flea market. It's every October. I haven't missed it in all these years, except the COVID year where everybody was gone.
Yeah.
And I met Bill Harrah there, and he loved the Thomas Flyer from Buffalo. That was like his favorite car. And he just bought the Round the World one that's up on that big banner you see at the museum.
Yeah. And
he was restoring it, and I helped him. I had Thomas parts, and I helped him. So we got to be friends, and he says, I heard you have a Page. I have a Page, and can I come and see, with my mechanics, see that we're restoring my car to your original car? And so he came here with Bobby Joe Gentry was his wife at the time, the singer, Tallahatchie Bridge.
Oh, wow.
So Bill Harrah's here, and it turned out I just bought his car. My car I sold after a few years for a lot of money.
Yeah.
A lot of money. I had to. I mean, it was so much money that I had to. I've been running ads trying to find it, and nobody was responding. I think when you run an ad, sometimes they think you're after them for something, or gee, the car was stolen, so nobody responded. And this car came up, and I bought the car. That was his car, the one he patterned after my car.
Oh, wow.
We have it. So that was a thrill for me last year to get that car. And let me tell you, we had my Bennett High School class reunion, the 100th anniversary of Bennett High School last fall. And I don't know why, instead of coming down Main Street afterward, I said, we'll jump on the expressway. Marianne said, no, don't do this. Don't do this. She knew what I was going to do, because the car held the Daytona Beach record and the Pikes Peak Hill Climb record in 1921 of 105 miles an hour. Now, that was unbelievable. Most cars would 70 maybe, but this 105. Well, I had it at 85 on the 33. Sorry. But I had a good ride, and she was scared, but it just was like a rock. It was so well restored. It had been owned by 3 millionaires who everyone did something better to the car. And so I'm very proud of it. It's sitting in the museum in the front window right now.
That's amazing. Can you talk a little bit? I know this is going to be hard for you to answer this question, like it's kind of a generic question, but you've restored so many cars.
Yeah.
I mean, from so many different time periods, and many of which have like some serious historical significance. What's your approach to do? How do you figure this out? How do you do this?
Well, it was seat of the pants. I got a reputation of having a shop. At the time, we charged $10 an hour, which was, really ridiculously low even then. But I needed the experience to learn from the people, and got I kept my shop meticulously clean and organized. All the parts were on shelves. And no one was doing professional restoration in the 60s. It was take it to a collision shop, we'll get to it when we can type of thing.
Yeah.
Not us. We were, I'll take your car, we'll work on your car, pay me every week like clockwork. If you don't pay, I stop working, and it worked perfect. I mean, hundreds and hundreds of cars I restored over the years. I had 8 men working for a long, long time restoring cars.
If a new car comes in that you haven't, back in the day especially, you had never personally restored a car of that type before.
Right.
Does it just become, you kind of just know what to do? You go out and get the parts? How does that work? Are you collecting parts to have them in case these things come in?
I'm a big parts guy.
Yeah.
Big
Well, I know you
guy.
are for sure now.
Yeah, I'm a big parts guy. But I started at that time collecting parts. So if I thought it was going to be really difficult, I'd turn it down.
Yeah.
I mean, if it was going to be a Bugatti or something where I'd have to go to Europe at that time, I wasn't doing that. But for the American cars, I had access. Plus, we started to make parts. And I knew who the guys were that made a windshield in South America and different parts of the country in the U.S. I knew who the manufacturers were, and we'd make the cars, make the parts, and be quality. Quality was always the thing with me, and we won every national first prize you could win, other than Pebble Beach, because I never had a client who would want to spend. If it cost $100 to restore a car, to go to Pebble Beach and win, it would cost you another $100. That's the detail that they went to.
Yeah.
So, but we won National Antique Auto Club first places many times.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is there a car that has evaded you? One that you're like, man, I've been looking for this car. I wish I could get my hands on it.
Not anymore. I pretty much,
That's awesome.
Well, the only car that I would ever love to have is the Thomas Flyer, the round the world car that Bill Harrah, and it's in. We brought it here 2 years ago.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah, you saw it. It was an unbelievable car, and that'll always be in their museum. I'm sure it never. I think if it ever sold, it would be the highest price ever paid for an automobile. I'd say in the $50 million.
Wow.
To $70 million range.
Wow.
And I love it, but not that much.
I mean, I mean, the Pierce Arrow Museum as it stands now is incredible. I think most people know that it exists, but I think more and more people are starting to realize how lucky we are to have it here and to come check it out. Can you talk a little bit about the museum and how much it means to you? Because you and Marianne have poured everything into it, and I would love for you to just talk a little bit about it and why it's so important to you.
Well, it's like our child, actually. I always joke we don't have any children we know of, so this is for your kids and your grandkids.
Yeah,
that's why we did it, and of course, meeting her and marrying her was number one in my life to help us do what we both wanted. She loved it as much as I did. She's curator of exhibits at the Historical Society.
I was going to bring that up.
I mean, marriage made in heaven.
It's
Absolutely.
perfect for
it still
what you guys
is.
are doing. Yeah,
56 years later, still is.
Wow.
And so it's just important to save this stuff. Nobody was saving it. I mean, Historical Society is wonderful, but they have so much to take in of the whole ambiance of Buffalo, but I wanted to focus on transportation as much as possible. Not so much trains, because trains take a lot of room.
Yeah.
Trains and aircraft take a lot of room, and there already was different groups who liked that stuff, and I'd rather support them and let us be the cars and bicycles. And now we do have an airplane. I've never shown it yet. We're going to surprise some people. We have a single-engine 1920 airplane powered by a motorcycle motor.
Wow.
There's a lot of cool stuff coming up. A lot of cool stuff.
Yeah, you've been, I will say, quietly going around and spreading your footprint.
Yeah. For
the museum. What is your ultimate vision? If you could paint the perfect picture for the museum, what does that look like?
3 to 5 years, 300,000 square feet. We already have the current building, which we expanded to do the Frank Lloyd Wright filling station.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you about
We'll
that.
get into that after. We bought the Social Security building next door. We bought the Ethox building. Ethox is 200,000 square feet.
Yeah.
The Social Security building is very close, ready to open, as a new addition. We'll see. Maybe this fall, but maybe in the spring. Because of a couple of health things I had to put off 2 years. And but I'm raring to go. We're raring to go. And so 300,000, 3 years. I'm hoping to 3 to 5 years. I'm 82 now, so by the time I'm 85, I would hope we'd have everything. It's going to be difficult to connect them because of underground. We got the streets from the city.
Yeah.
City's been always very supportive of us. We don't get any money from the city,
Yep.
the county, or the state. The state helped us build the new addition. We did the Frank Lloyd Wright filling station ourselves. And in the future, I'm sure we'll need some help from them as a tourist attraction. And one of the main tourist attractions in Buffalo.
That's awesome. So, you great segue, because if you look at the Pierce Arrow Museum, it was an old Mack truck, like
it was a Mack dealership.
Mack dealership, right? But if you look on the left side, the atrium, that's where, if you go in, that's where the Frank Lloyd Wright filling station is. Can you tell the story about how you got that and how it got in there?
Okay, that's a great story. It's 1970s. I started to have car auctions in Buffalo. Car auctions got to be the thing in the early 70s. I had the first one at the Saddle and Bridle Club in Buffalo. A friend of mine, Hans Mobius, knew the folks from over there, and we had the first auction there. And then I got in with a guy out of Dayton, Ohio. Most of my friends were older because they were older guys, a guy by the name of Leo Gephardt. And Leo and I got to be friends, and he said, we should really form a national company. And we did. It was called Auction America. It was a Ohio corporation, and we were the principals. Leo and I were the principals in it. But I did all the work. Of course, he's the older guy. I let the young guy do all the work. And it was great. I liked that. That was my thing. But we were starting to do 20 auctions a year, and I didn't want to let things go downhill here. And I love Buffalo, and I didn't want to be gone that much. But we did start in California, but Arizona was our main auction, which became Barrett Jackson. We were before it was Barrett Jackson. Russ Jackson was one of our associates. And then when we sold the company, it became Barrett Jackson, which is still one of the biggest in the world.
Yeah.
But I ran that for 3 years before. And it's funny, they don't have us in their history at the Barrett Jackson. For some reason, those 3-year chapters left out. I joke with them all the time. You ought to rewrite the book and do the thing. But I don't care about that, But what we did was we bought a house in Scottsdale as our office for the West Coast, because I was doing Movie World Cars of the Stars auction. That's where I met a lot of movie stars and people like that, and plus the Arizona auction. So I would ride my bike up to Taliesin in the West, up in Scottsdale. And one day the guy showed me a little illustration. He said, "This is a filling station," because I'd ask, "What do you have about Buffalo?"
Yeah.
He said, "This, I think, was going to be built in Buffalo. It's a filling station." I looked at it. It was weird. It was very weird the way the pumps were and everything. So I said, "Can I get a copy?" He said, "Well, you got to sign papers." I said, "Another time. I'll do it another time." Well, I don't do anything. We ended up, we kept the house for like 17 years, but I knew in 97 when we were going to open the museum, we weren't going to have time to go to Arizona and spend the time there. So we sold the house and took the money and put it into the museum. And my father needed a heart aortic valve replacement, and nobody, 2001, was doing it. And this is sort of a cool story. My father, so the guys here didn't want to touch it. They said, "Oh no, our errors and emissions, and we don't want to touch it." So there was a young guy in Cleveland that was doing the operation. So I read about him. His name was Toby. And I read about him, and I called and talked to people, and, he's the best. He's doing these aortic on older people. My father was already 87 or 88 years old. So I said, "I want to make you can't come in. I mean, he's got a long line." I called up an ambulance company. got my father in the ambulance, and we went to Cleveland. I can remember him waving at me with his Buffalo Museum hat from the back, and I followed him all the way to Cleveland, waving at me because this was going to give him life. He knew he wasn't going to live if we didn't do this. So we get there, and they take him in. I go to the hotel there. Next morning, they call me up at 6 o'clock. What's he doing here? What, you don't have any reservation to be here. They had admitted him, though, right? I said, well, I mean, he needs the operation. I know, but the doctor's not going to be here, and da-da-da-da-da. And I said, well, okay, I'll come over to the office. So I come over to the office, and they're trying to discharge him, and I'm saying, look, we can wait till he comes back. And out of the corner of my eye, I see a young guy with sort of a strange head, I call it, a strange head. I said, I bet you that's the doctor, because I saw his front head, but I saw the back head, right? I'm thinking like a car front end, I know the back head, right? So I go up to him, I says, doctor, are you doctor? Yes, yeah. I said, I'm Jim Sandoro. He said, oh, I'm sorry, I can't do anything for your dad. I'm leaving for da-da-da-da-da-da. And I said, when do you think you're doing it? He says, I don't know, I'm so backed up, I can't do it. He needs it now. He said, what do you do? I said, I have the Pierce Arrow Museum in Buffalo. Pierce Arrow Museum? I've been there 5 times. You're never open. I'm on my way to Toronto all the time. You're never there. Next day, he operated on my father.
Wow.
Yeah,
and
gave
next
my
time
father
Pierce
another
Arrow was open?
7 years. He gave my father 7 years.
That's amazing.
Yeah, what a story, right?
That's amazing.
Yeah, and so it's got a Frank Lloyd Wright thing to it. While I'm there, there's a blizzard in Buffalo. It's 2001, around whatever it was, Christmas time. And Buffalo was shut down for 8 days, so I couldn't bring him back. And I go to the Crawford Museum that's in Cleveland, wonderful car museum. And in the basement is this gas station, little station they built up. I said, I wonder if they still have those plans or whatever. I called Taliesin right from my phone, got a hold of a guy, Richard Roy, who just died, passed away at 100 and whatever. And I told him who I was. He said, oh, Pierce Arrow, I've heard of that. Don't worry, I'll send you the photo or the illustration. He sends me the illustration. I call up my friend Pat Mahoney, who's with Lauer Manguso here, who's a Frank Lloyd Wright. He's helped say Gravecliff. I mean, he is the guru of Frank Lloyd Wright in Buffalo. And he said, yeah, it looks like it might have been, but well, let's go there. I said, okay. We get on a plane. We fly to Arizona. It's 118 degrees. I mean, it was hot, hot, hot. We had to buy jackets to go because they kept it cold where the archives was. Yeah. We had to put masks on and wear gloves because of the acid in the paper.
Oh, wow.
So for 3 days, we're there suffering and going through thousands and thousands. And the last day, I look over, and there's a piece of cardboard in this one spot. And I look at the front, but I look at the back, and it's addressed to Darwin Martin. And it was the illustrations of the gas station.
Wow.
And then Patrick found through his contacts letters that Darwin Martin had written Frank Lloyd Wright and back that ended up in New York and Los Angeles, all over. They're not in the archives, that told every detail about the station.
Wow.
And that's how we got it. We ended up paying $175,000 for the rights to build it. And it took us a couple of years, but you see the finished product that we opened 15 years ago.
That's incredible. Yeah, it's really, really cool. For anybody who hasn't seen it, they have to check it out. It's amazing. So one of the parts of your life I have to ask you about is, you kind of alluded to it earlier, is traveling around the world. It sounds you've been hired by everybody, I think, from like the FBI to the IRS. You've been involved in probably massive divorce proceedings over coming in and I guess like evaluating these cars, right?
Correct, yeah.
You've been everywhere. You said you've been to Tokyo, you've been all over Europe. What's maybe one trip that stands out in your mind?
I didn't like Tokyo. I went there because Mitsubishi hired me to go there about having the first collector car auction in Japan.
Oh, wow.
And what year they picked was 1990, 91, when the whole market was going down. And when I got there, one of my competitors was at the airport, and he said, what are you doing here? I said, I'm here to talk to them. He says, oh, no, I'm having an auction. I said, you don't understand. Mitsubishi runs Japan. And if Mitsubishi, I just knew this. I was just warning him. I said, and sure enough, he was there a day or two. He left because they were going to do it.
Yeah.
They didn't listen to anything I told them. I told them about how to set it up, how to promote it, how to do it. They thought that they were going to get 100,000 people there. I said, you'll be lucky if you get 10,000 there. They wanted to charge $200 a person. I said, no, I think you'd want to charge like 50, 60, equivalent 50, 60. And you'll be lucky if you get 10,000. They got 11,100 people at it. They spent $5 million in the trains to do advertising for the auction.
Yeah.
I think I have pictures that I took in the trains when I was in there. And so the next year, they didn't make any money. The next year they asked me to come back. I said, no, I'm not coming back. I don't care how much you pay me. You didn't listen to me. Also, it rained for 3 weeks. It was in May of 1991. I did not like it. And they wouldn't look you in the eye to talk to you, a lot of the people. I mean, Japanese are wonderful people. I have a lot of Japanese friends. But that trip just rubbed me the wrong way, and I never went back there. But mostly Europe and South America. That's where I did most, and the U.S., of course. California, divorces and controversies. And
yeah, what do you think was maybe the most contentious case you were ever involved in, if you're able to talk about it?
Well, I can't say names.
No, of course not.
I can say some names, but I can't say. One couple out of Florida there was a pencil box with a car on it. The husband and wife fought over it. We calculated $82,000 in attorney's fees and my fees and whatever on this pencil box. Yeah, and I still to this day don't know what happened after that. But imagine $82,000. And there was a famous race car driver one time that I won't go into, but he had a house in Florida, and the wife's attorney was a friend of mine, and he hired me and wanted to hire me, and I said no because I had gone online and saw what his public thought of her, and terrible. I mean, to bomb her and do all kinds of crazy stuff. And I have to protect the museum. I don't care what the fee is.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that. Couple IRS things. The IRS, I did a lot for the IRS. I mean, and still do. U.S. Customs, Canadian Customs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've done. I turned out to be the major guy. I'm not bragging, but I was and still am, I think, because I keep getting calls, the major guy on doing it, because nobody either wanted to do it or didn't have the expertise to do it. And it's one thing, you may have the knowledge, but can you convey that to the jury or to a judge in a way that they can understand and believe you,
Yeah, how do you I always like talking to experts in different fields, like especially because of what we do. How do you decide if it's a case that you want to take on or not?
Well, I like to be on the right side too. If I don't believe it, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, you got it, right?
Yeah, I've got to. Yeah, I don't care.
Yeah.
And the fees, I'm probably charging the same fee I charged 10, 15 years ago. It wasn't about that. It was about fairness and doing the right thing.
Yeah.
I had a constructive trust one time in California for a very famous guy in California. IRS hired me to go there, and I appraised the cars for the exact amount that the man had him appraised for, not knowing anything about it. And I became a hero to him. I mean, it was like after the case was all over and everything else, he didn't have to pay anything. Mm-hmm. And he hired me to do all his cars and all his stuff, and I appreciated it. But then I did, the one I can talk about is the Imperial Palace case. Imperial Palace, I was in South America. We'll talk about that in another minute, but I was in South America, and I get a call. At the time, everybody was doing satellite calls.
Yeah.
And Marianne had given a number to a lawyer for the Imperial Palace, and they were being assessed $400 million because Mr. Engelstadt, who owned it, was writing off the restoration costs against the casino profits. But he had a restoration shop at the prison in Nevada. And it was $400 million. So I said, look, I can't really hear you that well, but I'll call you when I get back to the U.S. maybe an hour later, I get a call. I'm the head attorney in Las Vegas, the IRS. We want to hire you. I go, oh, the Imperial Palace case? He said, what happened? They already called you? I said, yeah. He says, I'm sending you a retainer right now. Don't take the retainer. I said, no. I can't hear you too well. Wait till I get back. So now, who am I going to work for? So I come up with a brainstorm. Look, when I got back, I did a conference call and said, why don't you ask the judge to appoint me court-appointed appraiser? And you guys split the fee, and you're going to get what you're going to get anyways.
Yeah.
And they did. So what's interesting is we had a meeting in Las Vegas, and we went over the fact that I was to go to restoration shops around the world to see how they did things and wrote things and whatever. And one of the places was Germany. And so everybody agreed that I would go to Germany, I'd go to Italy, I'd go to wherever I had to go to do this, and come up with a report for the judge. So I come up for a report for the judge, and my fees were a lot. There was a lot of money because just the airfare and everything else. And Imperial Palace ends up, instead of $400 million, $3 million.
Wow.
$3 million, yeah. And the IRS guy, out of my fee, only pays me half my fee. What's this all about? Oh, we never authorized you to go to Germany. Really? I think we taped that meeting where you said you'd love to go with me to Germany. He actually did that, and then said that he never knew and never approved me going to Germany. And of course, then they had to pay. And the IRS got rid of him after that. It got rid of the attorney.
Two-way street, IRS.
Yeah.
If you take our money,
oh my goodness,
you better pay when you need
goodness.
to.
Yeah,
That's amazing. So you talked a little bit about Marianne, and she's lovely, and you guys have been together for, you said 56 years?
56, yeah.
Can you talk about her role in the museum? Because I know you guys are partners. You're truly partners in this.
Yeah.
And when I was doing research, I didn't realize like her background and how perfect that marriage is, especially for what you guys are doing.
Right. Well, I met her in 69. We got married in 70, so we've really been 57 years. And she knew as much about Pierce Arrow motorcycles as I did. I mean, just happened to meet her at the poorhouse east. Used to be on Main Street. The bar is still there at the Plaza, Main and Transit. And I was in there listening to music with a friend, and that's how we met. And neither of us drank. Never smoked, never drank, and that was it. I never went out with anybody else after that.
That's amazing.
It's just perfect marriage.
That's awesome. And you guys have, again, you've been together forever. I know you said, of course, you had the house in Arizona, but you've always, you talked to me about this, many times, like just how much you love Buffalo. And in particular, I think even like the area we're in now, the neighborhood we're in.
Yeah.
From your perspective, I would love to hear, how has Buffalo changed? Like, why do you love this area so much?
Well, I've been here through all of it. I mean, when I say, I remember the 50s and 60s and the 40s. I mean, I still can remember all the things at Sattlers and going shopping downtown with my parents and doing things. My father was in Ellicott Square, 1064. That was his law office.
Really?
On the corner facing this way, yeah. And I used to come down and work in his office and sort of clerk at the time. And so I got involved with downtown and Main Street and all the things going on. And my grandfather, who came from Italy, he was a shoe shine boy in Shelton Square. So I remember Shelton Square before they tore everything down to build M&T and Main Place. Mm-hmm. In fact, I had a car show. One of the last things they ever held in the Big E building was where Main Place is now. Mm-hmm. And that was the old structure from the 1870s.
Oh, wow.
I actually had a car show in there one time, yeah, with Pierce Arrows and all kinds of stuff. But I just loved Buffalo. I loved the neighborhoods. We ended up moving to Middlesex. We went from Lisbon to Pelham, the first street down Niagara Falls Boulevard, and then to Middlesex. And my friends were breaking the windows on the factory, and I'm out looking for artifacts. I tell that story because we moved near the factory. So to me, it's all the better. I knew about Pierce Arrow.
Yeah.
I met a lot of people who worked there, and that's how I got. And I would run ads in the newspaper, wanted Pierce Arrow, Thomas Flyer stuff. And I'd meet these 90, 100-year-old guys that had stuff.
Wow.
They wouldn't give it to me, but they'd sell it to me for little money.
Yeah.
They wanted me to have it and preserve it.
Yeah.
Mostly Germans. They save everything.
Yeah.
One guy saved fingernails, clippings. I mean, it's unbelievable.
My grandmother was from Germany. She saved everything.
They save everything. So I must have some German in me someplace. I save everything.
In your career, I mean, you've come across probably just about any car you can imagine. I have a couple questions about that. This is just kind of like probably the little boy coming out. Just curious. When you were talking earlier about like lifting back the curtain when you were like 3 years old and seeing the car in your neighbor's garage. Have you had moments like that as an adult where you're like, oh my, like someone calls you in or you go in someplace not really expecting to see anything crazy and you're like, oh wow, I don't even know if these people know what is sitting right here?
Not that they don't know. One thing that sticks in my mind is a friend of mine who was a head guy at a major insurance company here, told me one day, I'm going to bring some stuff over to show you. And he said, my dad was a stamp collector. And along the way, he got these stock certificates because of the stamps on them. I said, oh, that's interesting. He lays them out, and they are the transfer of the Pierce Arrow Motor Car Company in 1908, before George Pierce died, from him to the successors, with all the names of every famous Pierce Arrow guy or Buffalo guy or whatever, all the original stock certificates, all signed by them, all fabulous. Now, I haven't even ever displayed them. I'm working on it, or they're all going to be displayed. Maybe copies, but they're so valuable to me because it is the major company of the world, and this is how it all really became. It went from George and Pierce Company to Pierce Arrow Motor Car Company.
How do you make decisions on where to put what and what to display and what not to display? I mean, you have so much.
She and I just have that knack. We have the knack. And we've visited, I've stolen ideas from other people, of course. I go every
right?
museum. Yeah. But I'll do a little different. Or even if I do, I tell them, say, boy, I like this one friend of mine in Arizona. He built a fabulous tree of lamps. I have hundreds and hundreds of car lamps, brass, beautiful things. And he started to build a tree of about 8 of them. And I said, boy, that's really cool. So I'm going to build one, but it's going to maybe be 20 high. I have to have a support and then put lights in them.
Huh.
So LEDs, so they will light up when we put it on. They will all light up like they did when they're on the car. In the early days, they were gas, acetylene type and kerosene.
Okay,
but we'll light them up electrically. So just cool stuff,
If for somebody listening who hasn't been to Pierce Arrow Museum or hasn't been there in a while, if you were giving a tour, what were the things that you'd want to make sure that people didn't miss? Because sometimes maybe I got to imagine there's times where you're like, oh man, I don't think, don't look look at everything, but we really need to pay attention to these things over here.
Well, you've never been on one of my tours. It's about an hour and 20. I do them for larger groups because my voice doesn't hold out. This year I'm going to do some, and I haven't set dates yet, but I'm going to do some general ones where if 2 people or 5 people want to join a group,
we're in.
I'll let them do it. Okay, yeah you're going to go on it. And I cover it all. I cover it all. I tell the stories. Just like I'm telling you stories, I tell how I got this artifact and used to be on a building in Cleveland. All the research is so important to me, to know how did it come here, how was it designed, who designed it, and then I have files to back it up. I have hundreds of thousands of files of everything. If there's anything said Buffalo, car, whatever, it goes in a file, be it a bicycle, whatever it is. I am leaving a giant library of 3,000 to 5,000 books and pieces that are printed stuff, not the original literature and other things. I have letters from different people about what a great car. I love this car. Thank you for making it to Pierce Arrow or Thomas Flyer.
If So in this day and age, obviously it's a lot easier to research things. You can go online,
Yeah,
you can,
yeah.
whatever. How did you do that years ago? Before, like, that's got to be
It was
so
just
hard.
be a dog. I was like a dog looking for a bone.
Yeah.
I mean, if I got into, but I could smell it. I could smell it. I went to one time in Arizona. Now you never find anything in Arizona in a flea market. Went to a flea market on a Sunday morning. I remember it was at the Greyhound track that was owned by Sports Service. I mean, this is 80, 85 or something. And I see one little piece of literature, Pierce Arrow. I look around the table, there's nothing else, but I know there's something else. I said, I'm interested in buying this, and do you have anything else? No. The one girl says no, and the father says, oh, no, we got the grandfather's trunk. You got grandfather's trunk? Yeah, it's over here, full of Pierce Arrow stuff.
Wow.
He was a dealer in Chicago.
Huh.
I have all the important stuff from the dealership in Chicago. And filled the trunk. I filled my station wagon. I left them the trunk. I didn't care about the trunk. I wanted all the stuff out of there. But if I hadn't spotted that one little piece, never would have had that history, and it may have been just thrown out in the future.
I asked you a similar question earlier, but like, is there any piece? Let me ask it this way: is there anything Pierce Arrow that you've been hunting for, that you just haven't gotten your hands on personally? Because it seems like you have everything.
No, I've got the bicycles. I've got the motorcycle. I've got the cars, early cars. I have a 19.2, 19.3. I have cars that won races. I've got the gold medals that they won in the races. I can't think of one thing that somebody else has that I know of that I really don't have access to, or
Yeah.
I can't think of one, but one will come up. Something will come up.
Well, what is it? Why is it that, in your opinion, Pierce Arrow is the best automobile company ever?
You had to know the people and know the stuff. These Germans came up the Erie Canal. They were machinists. They started to make carriages. The Brunn Company, B-R-U-N-N, 1869. High-end trade. They were going to make high-end carriages. And they came up the Erie Canal. They got to Buffalo. They saw the land and climate was similar to Germany, and the water power first. We could drive machines, could do things, and then the electric power right after that. So they landed here and they stayed here, and that was the nucleus of it. I mean, there were Italians and there were other nationalities that did their thing, but the Germans were the machinists that started this whole thing. And the quality that they did. Every early Pierce Arrow, they would build it to the closest tolerances you could build, take it all apart, start it again, and test it with a box on the thing. And I've got pictures of them driving around Delaware Park and going all over and test that thing. Take it all apart, see is there any wear, any piston wear, is there anything. Before you shipped it to Hirohito in Japan, that car was going to be perfect.
Yeah.
Now, for instance, the Glidden Tours were run for 7 or 8 years, called the Glidden Tour. You look it up. They started in 05 or 06, ran till the teens. Pierce won every year for 6 or 7 years.
Wow.
What did it mean? 1,000-mile trip under duress because of weather and everything else. 1 point deducted for every time you had a flat tire, you had an adjustment of a carburetor, 1 at 1,000 points every time.
Wow.
The quality was unbelievable, and people knew that. And that's why they said, wait, I got the money, I'm buying a Pierce. Why would I fool around with anything else?
It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's amazing. All right, so we're coming to an end.
Why? Why? There's so much more.
Why? What do you want to talk about? Go ahead. You're opening
joking.
yourself up
No,
for it.
I'm joking.
I'm
joking.
That's
I'm
you. You're
joking.
opening
I'm
yourself up for
joking.
part 2 someday.
Oh, part 2 we'll do part 2.
So I guess if people are interested, and they will be, to come see the museum, what are the hours? What's the best way for them to come see it?
Right now we're so busy, thank goodness. Our buses went from about 40 buses 2 years ago. We're about 120.
Wow.
And next year, with the ships coming in, I hope we're going to run about 200 buses.
The cruise lines coming in?
For the cruise
Yeah.
lines coming in. And they've been here already and love the whole thing. People love cars, and transportation museum, because we're really transportation.
Yeah.
We're open now Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, 11 to 4. And then after Christmas, we're never open on Sunday, Bills schedule. If the Bills are playing, we're never open on Sunday.
Smart.
I'm a Bills guy from day one. And we will expand next year. Next year's a big, big year for us. 100th anniversary of the filling station design. Our anniversary, our 30th anniversary. Also, I will be involved with the Peace Bridge 100th anniversary. That the original Peace Bridge opening had Pierce Arrows.
Wow.
I did the 75th with Pierce Arrows, and we closed the bridge for an hour or 2 hours. Picture that. And that's going to happen next year unless our president does something strange. We'll see. And on and on. There's just going to be all kinds of cool events going on next year, and hopefully the opening of the new section too.
Awesome. Well, yeah.
One more.
Yeah. Yes.
The Great Race.
Yes.
June 27th of next year. There's a good chance we are going to host the Great Race. Finish line. We've never done the finish line. 150 cars are coming out of the Gulf of Mexico, are coming up on a race for 5 days, and we will be the end. That will bring Buffalo 20 to 40,000 people for that Saturday, Sunday of next June.
Really?
Yeah, it's a big deal.
So the Great Race, okay, I got to ask you now. Where does it start? Obviously, we know where it's going to finish.
In Alabama, someplace in there. They haven't told us.
It's just 150 guys or women
150
who enter.
cars. Yeah, they pay a lot of money to be in it.
It could be any type of
They
car.
run it, but they got to come within a second or 2 seconons of what's predetermined for that day each day. And it's a big deal.
We at Richmond Bona have pretty awesome seats. I'm going to be sitting in my window in my office.
I don't know. You may have to close that day.
We're definitely going to close. I'm going to be in there watching.
Yes, right.
This is awesome. Thanks for your time. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.